Hello gamers, hope you're all having a great day so far, and in today's video we're going to revisit that wonderful topic that I feel like I talk about every single year, and it is that time of year, once again, where we are maybe potentially seeing Garen buffs on the radar. And how do I know that? Well, you came at a great time. This is a great question, of course. I'm going to dive into why Garen actually could be buffed, and what the state of Garen is looking right now in solo queue and what to expect in the future. So I think it's no mystery that Garen is generally weaker right now. I mean, Stride Breaker got hit, so you don't get extra move speed when you're spinning over a target. Sterak's Gauge got absolutely gutted. It feels so bad to build Sterak's Gauge right now. We're still trying to build Sterak's Gauge, and it, as much as we want to cling on to the item, it just feels so painful to build. On top of this too, gold efficiency got nerfed across the board, and as it benefited certain champions, especially scaling champions, Garen's one of those champions that just doesn't really fall into that category, because as much as he likes stacking up defensive stats through his W, he really wants to have that damage available so he can snowball and carry games. That's his mid-game glory. If he has two items in his mid-game and their gold efficiency combined of those items goes down by 20%, that's going to be a considerable hit to him. Let's contrast this with a champion like Kayle, who it's not so much about the items, but more so the ability to hit level 16 for when she comes online and totally takes over the game. And I make this type of prediction even in consideration of the current climate of Garen, who I think Garen actually has had a phenomenal year, right? He's had two very strong splits. He's had one round of buffs earlier this year, and then he was also seen competitively on stages across several regions, which has been unprecedented in terms of his competitive history. Like, I think, like, picking Garen was relatively considered a joke, with the only exception being Season 9 when Yuumi was first released, because that champion was absolutely busted, let's be real. So why am I saying that Garen could very well be buffed? Well, guys, the proof is in the pudding, and when it comes to the pudding, RISTE will always refer to his handy-dandy buddies at u.gg. So let's go ahead and take a dive over there and see what stats are cooking. I made sure to wait a few days, by the way, to collect sample size, because I have been scrutinized in the past for just talking about fresh patches in terms of having very small sample sizes. Guys, we are a few days into the patch here, and we have already collected thousands and thousands of games. So let's go ahead and dive into the data and see how Garen is doing right now from a data standpoint. So right now, Garen has a 51% win rate in bronze, and you could say, okay, that is good for Garen, but historically that has been much higher. We often refer to, and I often refer to, the balance framework, because that has been Riot's, over the years, most recent publishing in terms of saying, hey, this is what win rates look like for us in terms of buffing and balancing champions. This is what the feel of balance feels like to us in the game of League of Legends. And we've always abided by those numbers, and historically we have seen changes that have abided by the balance framework here. Typically being like, if a champion's pick rate is way too high, or a champion's win rate, for example, is like over 54% and has way too high of a sample size, those champions usually get nerfed. If there's champions that have a very low pick rate, and a very low win rate, then they're in often consideration for buffs. So let's go ahead and see the numbers here. We're going to go through every rank to go ahead and see how we can compare this with previous splits. Because before we entered split 3, Garen was sitting at a 54% win rate in silver. He was a very strong, considerable solo queue champion, but the data shows that he is struggling right now. And if you guys disagree with me and say that, oh, Garen doesn't need buffs, that's perfectly fine. I am more so structuring this video against the logic of Riot. Whether or not you guys think Garen should be buffed is one thing. Another thing that we need to take a look at is what Riot Games has historically done when Garen has numbers like this, because this is what I'm basing my prediction on. And let's take a look at silver right now globally with our sample size collected over thousands of games. 82,000 games recorded, and only at a 50% win rate. Guys, the vast majority of the player base right now is in silver and bronze, and it's been that way for years. So when Garen, a very easy to pick up champion, a champion that naturally will do well versus every other player who is still practicing their champions or picking up new champions, thus inflating his win rate, is only sitting at a 50% win rate, that definitely speaks volumes about his power right now. I don't even need to show you guys the other MMRs, because like this is the most telling tidbit of data. I know you guys are going to be curious about other MMRs. Let's go ahead and check them really quickly for the sake of simplicity. I'll go ahead and bounce from Silver to Challenger, and you guys can see that his win rate is starting to struggle a little bit. Okay, it's still a little stable in Gold, but you guys can see that it's starting to tip off a little bit. Into Platinum, this is where we hit that downward slope. Obviously, it's been years since Garen has been released, and people know how to play versus this champion more and more. You know, simply count him out. Hee hee. Just not die to him. You know, exactly. Get Guardian Angel. Get Stopwatch. Wait, Stopwatch isn't in the game anymore. All right, forget my advice. Forget it. All right? But, like, I've been even noticing in the games I've been playing in Diamond that Garen is really, really difficult to climb with right now. And, yeah, sure. The sample size does go down a bit because Garen's pick rate definitely has gone down considerably since Split 2. But it's very, very telling right now how much he is struggling. Not just in high elo, but also in low elo. You know, he has been struggling. So this is where I'm saying that buffs, if he does maintain these numbers, buffs could very well be on the horizon. And I want you guys to be anticipative of that because, you know, they could maybe choose the buff something that inadvertently affects Garen, right? They could buff Sarek's Gauge, and that'd be really cool. They could buff Strybaker, and that'd be really cool. There is the angle of approach here where he gets several items buffed, and therefore becomes stronger as a result. But I am skeptical because I think that the approach they made towards the itemization systems and making items weaker, I don't think they want to reel back on that. I think they want to keep their changes substantial, significant, and staying, and then adjust champions from there. Which is why I'm very hopeful that Garen's going to receive a buff in the future, because right now, it really feels bad to play with him. Now, of course, you can still climb with him. I'm not saying you can't climb with Garen. It is 100% possible to climb with him right now if you're dedicated, focused. We see several Garen players already engineering the champion to operate in the split, and I definitely want to commend the Garen players for being the smart, bright-minded people who are able to push through even tough times like now. But as I've said before, guys, this has always historically happened where if Garen has like a 50% win rate in Silver, Riot Games is like, you know what? No, we want that at 54%. Because naturally, that number should be higher, right? The number should always be higher because Garen is just easy to pick up. He always should be that noob-stomping champion. So that's why he should always prevail in Silver. And Silver is where everybody plays, or most of everyone plays. So you guys have seen the data. You guys have seen my argument. You guys have seen and witnessed the history of Garen getting buffed. I want to know in the comments what you guys think below. What do you guys think about the future of Garen? Do you guys think he's going to get buffed? Do you think that Riot Games is going to icebox him for a bit, being the popular champion that he is? I don't know. Do you guys think that he's fine? And or do you guys think he even needs to get nerfed further? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for supporting me and watching this video today. Also, check me out at patreon.com/RISTE if you guys want access to an exclusive matchups with Garen spreadsheet, which has helped hundreds of people over the years. And it's a really, really cool, comprehensive resource that could help you in your respective games. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. Have a wonderful day, and Demacia, baby. I'll see you in the next video.